Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 4. I am Janice Cobham, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiako, Uruan. Let's take a look at the headlines. Vice President Osibajo presides over executive meeting, council meeting at the Villa. Ex-Chief Judge Umedi wins ABGA presidential ticket. Plus,
defense policy.
US to send longer-range rockets to Ukrainian latest aid package. Details of these stories and more in a moment. We'll begin with a report that President Muhammadu Buhari is in Spain on a state visit at the invitation of the country's President Pedro Sanchez I. President Buhari's special advisor on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, had hinted in a statement that the president would hold separate meetings with President Sanchez and the head of state of the Spanish nation, King Philip VI, during the visit. During President Buhari's engagements with both leaders, he is expected to discuss issues of mutual interest in Nigeria and Spain, which would result in the signing of agreements and memorandum of understandings on a wide range of topics geared towards enhancing the bilateral relations between the two nations. The president is expected back in the country tomorrow. In a related development, Vice President Yemi Osibajo is presiding over the Federal Executive Council meeting at the Council Chambers of the State House, Abuja. This is as President Muhammadu Buhari is away on a 3-day state visit to Madrid, the Spanish capital. At the Council's meeting are the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Bas Mustafa, Chief of Staff to the President, Ibrahim Gambari, and other ministers. And away from that, federal government has commenced distribution of ATM cards to the beneficiaries of the Household Uplifting Program in Kwara State. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Farouk, announced this through the National Cash Transfer Program Coordinator, Halima Shehu. The head of unit, Kwara State Cash Transfer Unit, Amina Yahaya, who flagged off the distribution in Ilorin, explained that the exercise heralded the completion of the digitization of the payment system. She noted that there were 34,293 beneficiaries across the 16 local government areas of Kwara, with Ilorin West used as the pilot scheme. Yahaya warned the beneficiaries not to disclose their card details to anyone, either on phone or physically, to avoid being scammed. Meanwhile, the federal government has partnered the World Health Organization and the United States Center for Disease Control to enable Nigerians access the global stockpile of monkeypox vaccination to arrest the outbreak of the disease. The government's move comes as the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency said it had vaccinated over 30 million persons with the first dose. It said the figure of the first dose vaccination represented 23.9% of the country's eligible population, while over 14 million persons have received their second dose. In the meantime, the federal government has appealed to states which are either yet to domesticate or start the implementation of the Child Rights Act enacted since 2003 to do so immediately in the interest of the innocent Nigerian children. The Director General of the National Council for Arts and Culture, Shegu Rusewa, made the appeal in Abuja at the second stakeholders' dialogue on curbing sexual violence against children. Rusewa explained that the domestication of the law would increase child protection and reduce the chances of child abuse in the country. He said 31 states had so far signed the law and appealed to the remaining 5 to do so without further delay. And in education, National Association of Nigerian Students (NANS) today embarked on a warning protest over the continuous shutdown of the nation's university as a result of the strike embarked upon by members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities (ASU). Speaking in an interview with Spectrum Television, Comrade Kings Perez said students are tired of staying at home and urged the federal government to come to their aid. Welcome back. We sincerely do apologize for that little mix-up there. Back to the news. In education, National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, today embarked on a warning protest over the continuous shutdown of the nation's universities as a result of the strike embarked upon by members of Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. Speaking in an interview with Spectrum Television, Comrade Kings Perrier said students are tired of staying at home and urged the federal government to come to their aid.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. I say we shall always fight for our right. I say solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. Freedom come. Freedom come by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come. Oh, freedom come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come. I say Zumbi come by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come. I say Kodi come by struggle. Freedom come by struggle, by struggle. Freedom come. Come by struggle. Freedom come. Nigerian students, NAS Zone B. You can see the massive turnout of Nigerian students. That also gives you a conviction that Nigerian students, we are indeed angry about the ongoing incessant ASU strike that has affected Nigerian students in our various campuses. Our points are very clear. The federal government and the ASU body should come to a moment of understanding, to come to a negotiation table where they will call off this ASU strike for Nigerian students to return back to campus. Gone are those days where we'll sit, relax, fold our hands, and wait for federal government and ASU to mortgage our destinies. Today, as National Association of Nigerian Students, now zone, under my watch as a coordinator, we have decided to take our destiny by our hand by coming to the streets, by coming to Akwa Ibom State, another rest part of the South under my jurisdiction. I want to send it very clear to the federal government. If by the end of this peaceful protest, if they don't call off this strike and go to a memorandum of understanding with the federal government, then we are going to do a confrontation or shutting.
Away from that, the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, has expressed concern over the spate of child trafficking in the Southeast. The Southeast Zonal Commander, NAPTIP, Neka Ajay, told newsmen in Enugu that child traffickers had devised new means of getting their victims in the zone. Ajay said in spite of efforts by the agency to arrest the menace, incidences of child trafficking, illegal migration and associated crimes were on the rise in the region. She said child traffickers had found a way to perpetrate the act in cohorts with either parents, relations of their victims or the victims themselves. Ajay, however, affirmed the agency's determination to reduce the menace to the barest minimum through the instrumentality of its task force on human trafficking. In politics, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) is planning to partner Nigeria's anti-graft agencies to stop vote buying in the June 18 governorship election in Ekiti State. INEC Chairman Mahmood Yakubu confirmed this in Ado-Ekiti during a meeting with traditional rulers ahead of the elections in the state. Yakubu assured the monarchs that the commission would not condone vote buying in the coming elections in Ekiti, as it had been observed in some primaries conducted by some political parties in the country. And still in politics, a former Chief Judge of Anambra State, Peter Umedi, has emerged as a presidential candidate of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA. He emerged at a special convention attended by party leaders and members drawn from the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. The special convention took place at the Katempe, Abuja national headquarters of the party. A total of 150 delegates had affirmed Umedi's candidacy by a choice vote. Elsewhere, the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has presented a certificate of return to the party's presidential flag bearer, Abubakar Atiku, at the PDP National Secretariat, Abuja. In a statement, the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Debo Olugu Nagba, had said all governorship candidates, presidential aspirants, members of the Board of Trustees, members of the National Assembly, other candidates of the party and stakeholders were expected to grace the ceremony. It could be recalled that Atiku had won the party's presidential ticket during a special national convention held in Abuja after scoring 371 votes. And still on politics, the former governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, has been screened by the All Progressives Congress APC committee screening presidential aspirants. Recall that the Federal High Court in Abuja had granted Okorocha bail with a directive that they should remain in custody until the conditions were met. While granting Okorocha bail, Justice Inyang Ekwo imposed a 500 million naira bond with one surety in like sum who must be within the jurisdiction of the court. Ekwo directed the Federal High Court Registry to verify the documents of property to be presented as bail bonds. And addressing journalists after the screening, Okorocha said he came directly from the EFCC's custody to the venue. He also agreed with the call for a consensus candidate, noting that the consensus could only be achieved if all aspirants reached the agreement. Back here, Akwa Ibom State Governor and one of the presidential aspirants in the just concluded primaries of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Udom Emmanuel, has appealed to other aspirants and party faithfuls to unite and work for the success of the party in 2023. Governor Emmanuel, who stated this after his arrival to a rousing welcome by millions of Akwa Ibom people, appreciated the people for supporting his ambition. According to him, all interests will be accommodated when the party succeeds in next year's general elections. On his performance at the last 7 years as governor of the state, Emmanuel said he was extremely satisfied in all areas and expressed optimism that his government would end well and strong next year.
You know, in this life, if you don't say, oh, this is where I am, nobody will say that's where you are. I think over the time, we're tired of being behind, supporting others. We also need to be supported by others too. That's the message. While I was vying to contest for the primaries, I made one thing clear, that I'm only making myself available if God wants to use me, our partner, to rescue and restore Nigeria. But the situation that we have right now needs somebody who is creative, who has the capacity, who has the exposure, who has the knowledge, who has the sincerity of purpose, and also who has the love for the people to actually get this done. We can't be challenged all the time about leadership in Nigeria when there are a whole lot of economic growth of this state. I mean, we have a lot to show. Mention one area that we can be found wanting. I think all round we've been excellent, quite impressive. But trust me, we're ending well, we're ending strong. And we're ending with the joy of our people at the back of our minds.
In Africa, as tensions rise between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Rwanda's Foreign Affairs Minister Vincent Biruta has claimed the right to respond and protect the security of his country. His comments come amid a resurgence of attacks from the M23 rebel group, which has strained relations between the neighbors Biruta, who spoke at a press conference in Kigali, said if the attacks continued, Rwanda will have the right to protect the security of its citizens. He also criticized the measures taken by the Democratic Republic of Congo government, which have included the suspension of flights by Rwanda's flag carrier, Rwandia, and the summons of Kigali's ambassador. Still in Africa, Human Rights Watch has called on the International Criminal Court to investigate allegations of landmine use in 2019 by Russian parliamentaries fighting in Libya. According to reports, new evidence has emerged from Libyan demanding groups linking mercenaries from Russia's Wagner group to the use of banned mines in Libya. This allegedly occurred during an offensive by Libyan forces based in the east of the country, attempting to take the capital Tripoli from rival militias. On the foreign scene, polling stations are now open in Denmark for voters to decide whether to abandon their country's 30-year-old opt-out from the European Union's common defense policy. The referendum is the latest example of European countries seeking closer defense links with allies in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It follows Sweden and Finland's historic bids to join NATO, which plans to take up their applications at the end of the month. Some 4.2 million Danish voters are eligible to cast ballots in the referendum. In a related development, President Joe Biden has announced that the United States will send Ukraine more advanced rocket system to help it defend itself. He said the weapons long requested by Ukraine were to help it strike enemy forces more precisely from a longer distance. Until now, the U.S. had refused the request out of fear the weapons could be used against targets in Russia. Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department has suggested that Washington is ready another aid package from Kyiv. This follows Congress's approval of additional $40 billion in military and humanitarian assistance earlier this month. On our business news, sequel to its development finance initiative, the Central Bank of Nigeria has agreed to leave interest rates at 5% per annum for critical sectors and manufacturing industries until March 2023. The decision followed the resolution of the Monetary Policy Committee to increase benchmark interest rates to 13% from 11.5%. The CBN said the 5% per annum interest rate was a form of subsidy for industry players who originally ought to pay an interest rate of 9%. However, such rates may rise as high as 20% per annum in commercial banks. Still in business, the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, is targeting the $2.7 trillion African market through the instrumentality of e-commerce. Speaking at the launch of Agogo Africa, supported by NEPC and African Union in Abuja, the Chief Executive Officer Ezra Yakusak said e-commerce had become a big industry as Nigeria is ranked 35th largest market for e-commerce globally, recording a yearly growth of 42%. He said e-commerce was one of the fastest growing industries in the global economy, noting that the estimated yearly growth was put at 23% and the industry projected to hit $27 trillion by the end of this decade. In health, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and CDC has announced that no fewer than 54 people have died of cholera in the country. In its latest report on the outbreak of the disease, the NCDC stated that the deaths were recorded between January 1 and May 1, 2022. It added that over 1,800 suspected cases were reported in 77 local government areas across 16 states of the country. The NCDC named the states as Abia, Adamawa, Akwa Ibom, Bauchi, Bayelsa, Borno, Cross River, Katsina, Kebbi, Kwara, Lagos, Nasarawa, Ondo, Rivers, Taraba, and Zamfara. And still on health, the World Health Organization says smoking cigarettes with plastic filters do not make safer. According to WHO, notwithstanding the marketing efforts by the tobacco industry to push cigarette filters as healthy, there has been no evidence to support the claim. The Global Health Body stated this in a statement released to commemorate the 2022 World No Tobacco Day, marked every 31st day of May yearly. The Global Health Agency urged policymakers to treat cigarette filters as what they are, single-use plastics, adding that policymakers should also consider banning them to protect people and the environment, who reiterated that products like cigarettes, smokeless tobacco, and e-cigarettes also add to the buildup of plastic pollution, noting that cigarette filters contain microplastics and make up the second highest form of plastic pollution worldwide. In sports, French World Cup winning midfielder Paul Pogba is to leave Manchester United at the end of June. The club confirmed this, bringing the curtain down on a largely disappointing second spell. The 29-year-old's departure at the end of his contract will see United recoup none of the then record £89 million he cost them when they brought him from Juventus in 2016. However, new United manager Erik ten Hag had decided that Pogba's chances at the club have come and gone. Still in sports, Super Eagles coach Jose Peseiro has handed a late invitation to Valentine Ozonwafo for this month's 2023 African Cup of Nations qualifier. The Eagles are due to take on the Lone Stars at the MKO Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, on June 9 before flying to St. Pierre to take on Mauritius 4 days later. The 22-year-old is expected to arrive in Abuja later this week as his in conclusion in the theme for the qualifiers further raises concern over the availability of Ola Aina for the games due to an injury he sustained in training in Dallas, Texas. On our entertainment news, music icon Innocent Idibia, popularly known as Two-Face, has spoken out following rumors that his marriage with actress Annie Idibia is at the verge of breakdown. This comes after reports that Annie unfollowed her husband on Instagram, leading many to speculate on the status of their marriage. The African Queen singer, in reaction, posted a video via his Instagram story to debunk the rumors and asked Nigerians to leave his wife alone. Recall that the actress had cleared the air since the rumors broke out, saying glitch on Instagram and had resulted in the unfollowing noticed by many. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on our social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, Spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 4. I am Janice Cobham. Enjoy the rest of your day.